The summer I turned 23, I came back home expecting everything to feel familiar, and in many ways it was. But at the same time, nothing felt the same anymore. My childhood bedroom looked untouched. The same navy blue curtains my mom had hung when I was 15 still covered the windows. The basketball hoop above my door still held my old Mets cap. Even the faint smell of cedar and old books lingered in the air. Just like before, everything was exactly where I had left it. But I wasn't the same person anymore, and coming back home meant facing things I had spent years trying to avoid. Ethan, sweetheart. My mom's voice echoed through the house the moment I stepped inside. She rushed out of the kitchen, the flowers still on her hands, and pulled me into one of her tight, familiar hugs. The kind that made me feel like I was a kid again. You're finally here. Hi, Mom, I said, hugging her back. For a moment, something inside me softened. Your dad's outside with Marcus, getting the grill ready. You know him starting at 2 p.m. for a 6 p.m. dinner? She said with a smile. Go say hi. Marcus has been asking about you. My stomach tightened the second she said his name. Marcus, my dad's best friend. The man who had been part of my life for as long as I could remember. He taught me how to throw a football, took me fishing, and sat with me in the hospital when I broke my arm, and the man I had been secretly in love with since I was 17. I had convinced myself that leaving would fix it. That distance, time, and meeting other people would make those feelings disappear. But the moment I heard his name again, my heart betrayed me. Yeah. Okay, I said quietly. Let me just drop my bags. I went upstairs, each step creaking in the same old places. My duffel bag landed on the bed, and I caught my reflection in the mirror. I had changed. Broader shoulders, sharper features, more confidence in the way I carried myself. But inside, I still felt like that same confused 17-year-old who didn't understand why his heart raced for someone he could never have. Taking a deep breath, I headed back downstairs. The backyard was glowing in the warm afternoon sun. My dad stood by the grill, laughing as he argued with Marcus about charcoal. It was such a normal, familiar scene. And then Marcus turned toward me. Our eyes met, and everything hit me all at once. He looked the same, and somehow even better. At 45, he carried himself with a quiet confidence. A few silver strands had appeared in his dark hair, but it only made him more striking. His smile spread the moment he saw me. Look at you. He walked over and pulled me into a hug. For a few seconds, I let myself feel it, the warmth, the closeness, the familiar scent I hadn't realized I'd missed. Then I pulled away. Marcus. It's been a while. Too long, he said softly. You could have visited more than just Christmas. Work's been busy, I replied quickly. It wasn't true. I had just been avoiding him. Well, you're here now. My dad joined us, clapping my shoulder. And you're staying all summer, right? Just June and July, I said. I have to be back by August. 2 months is good enough, he laughed. Marcus, remember when he was this small? I remember, Marcus said, his eyes still on me. I remember everything. That first week went by quickly. Family dinners, catching up with old friends, and trying not to notice Marcus every time he came over, which was often. My mom mentioned one night that his marriage had ended. It was mutual, she said casually. They just grew apart. She moved away. He stayed here, kept my eyes on my plate, but my heart reacted instantly. He's been a bit lonely, she added. I'm fine, Marcus said gently, but something about it stayed with me. Lonely. That word echoed in my mind more than it should have. I kept telling myself he was family. Just family. So why did everything feel so different now? It was the little things that got to me. The way he listened when I talked, like what I said really mattered. The way he remembered small details about me. One morning he asked, You still good with your hands? I nearly choked on my drink. What? Your dad said the deck needs fixing. Thought you might help. Like old times. Back when everything was simple, yeah, I said. I can help. That's how we ended up working side by side in the heat, staining the deck. You've been working out? He asked casually. Yeah. Helps with stress. It suits you, he said. I didn't know what to say to that. You've changed, he added. You seem more confident? I'm 23, I said lightly. I'd hope so. He nodded, then asked quietly, Are you happy? The question caught me off guard. Yeah, I think so. He studied me for a moment. You seem like you're holding something back. My chest tightened. I'm fine. You know you can talk to me, right? I looked at him. Really looked at him, I know. But I couldn't tell him the truth, because the truth was, he was the problem. That night, lying in my bed, I stared at the ceiling. This wasn't normal. He was 22 years older than me. My dad's best friend. Someone who had known me my whole life. I needed to move on. I tried. Opened a dating app. Scrolled through faces, but none of them felt right, because none of them were him. Frustrated, I threw my phone aside. I was completely stuck. A few weeks later, the 4th of July festival came around. I knew he'd be there, and of course, he was. When he saw me, his face lit up. I was hoping you'd come. We walked around together, talking like we always had, easy, natural. Then he asked, Why didn't you visit more? I hesitated, then said, Coming home reminds me of who I used to be. And who are you now? He asked. I took a breath. Someone who's not hiding anymore. He nodded. I'm proud of you, he said. Those words hit deeper than I expected. Thanks. He looked at me. Serious now. The person you've become. It's something to be proud of. My throat tightened, and in that moment, I realized something dangerous, being around him again. Wasn't making my feelings disappear. It was making them stronger. Why me? I asked quietly. Marcus didn't hesitate. Because I care about what you think more than almost anyone, he said. Your opinion has always mattered to me. More than it probably should. I swallowed, my chest tightening. You've always been important to me, I said. Instead, you were there during the hardest parts of my life. Sometimes. More than my own dad? A flicker of pain crossed his face. Your dad loves you, Marcus said gently. He just doesn't always know how to show it in the way you need. And no, I said. And I love him too. I paused, then added softly, But you were different. You understood me? Even when I didn't understand myself. I paid attention, Marcus replied. You were worth paying attention to. The way he said it, the way he looked at me in the fading light. Something inside me shifted. Something bold. Can I ask you something? Anything. Your divorce. Was it really just because you grew apart? Marcus looked away, his jaw tightening. That's complicated. You don't have to answer. No, it's okay. He ran a hand through his hair before speaking again. The truth is, we cared about each other, but there wasn't real passion. Not the kind that lasts. I think we both knew it for years, but we stayed because it was comfortable. What changed? I asked. He looked back at me, and for the first time, I saw something raw in his eyes. I realized life's too short to keep pretending, he said quietly. Too short to ignore what you really want, and who you really want. My heart started pounding. And what do you want? I asked. For a moment it felt like he might actually answer. His eyes searched mine. The air between us suddenly heavy with something unspoken, and then Marcus. Someone called his name, breaking the moment. He blinked. Stepping back as if something had snapped. We should head back, he said quickly. Fireworks are about to start. I followed him, but something had changed. I had seen it. That look in his eyes, that hesitation, that truth he didn't say out loud. And I knew then I wasn't imagining this. I wasn't alone in it. The real question was, what were we going to do about it? After the 4th of July, everything felt different. We still saw each other all the time. He still came over to my parents' house like always. But now there was tension, a quiet awareness, unspoken, but impossible to ignore. Sometimes I caught him looking at me when he thought I wouldn't notice, and I knew I was doing the same. It felt like we were stuck in orbit around each other, pulled closer and closer, but both too afraid to cross the line until one night, everything changed. My parents had gone out of town for a few days. Leaving me alone, I thought I'd enjoy the quiet instead. I couldn't relax. When the doorbell rang that evening, I wasn't expecting anyone. I opened it, and there he was. Marcus stood on the porch holding a six-pack, looking strangely unsure. "Hey," he said. "I know your parents are away, and I just thought maybe you'd want some company. But if this is weird, I can go." Every logical part of me told me to say no, but I didn't. I stepped aside. "Come in." We ended up sitting on the back porch, the warm night filled with the sound of crickets. He handed me a drink, then looked at me more seriously than usual. "So, how are you really doing?" "What do you mean?" "I mean, you've been back for a month," he said, "and it still feels like something's missing. You're here, but not really here. What's going on?" I hesitated. Maybe I'm just trying to figure things out. "What things?" "Everything." He set his drink down and turned toward me fully. "Okay," he said slowly. "I'm going to say something and you can tell me I'm wrong." My pulse quickened. "Okay." "Something's been different between us," he said, "since you came back, and I don't think I'm imagining it." The moment hung in the air. I could deny it, pretend everything was normal, or I could be honest. "No," I said quietly, "you're not imagining it." He closed his eyes for a second, like the truth hit harder than expected. "I'm sorry, don't apologize," he said quickly, his voice firm. "Not for being honest. Marcus, I don't know what you want me to say." "Tell me I'm wrong," he said. "Tell me there's nothing here." I shook my head. "I can't," I admitted, "because I feel it too. I've felt it for years." He stared at me. "Years since I was 17, I said. "I tried to move on. I left. I met other people. I did everything I could." I took a breath, but it never went away. He stood up, running a hand through his hair, clearly shaken. "You were just a kid," he said. "Do you understand how this looks?" "Yeah," I said quietly. "I do. Your dad is my best friend. I watched you grow up. This is complicated." The words stung, even though I already knew them. "You're right," I said. "Maybe you should go." "That's not what I want," he said immediately. "Then what do you want?" He hesitated. Then finally, "You." The word landed heavily between us. "I want you," he said, his voice strained. "And that's the problem." Couldn't breathe. "I've tried to ignore it," he continued. "Tried to convince myself it wasn't real. But every time I'm around you, it gets harder." Silence filled the space between us. The truth was finally out. "So what happens now?" I asked. "I don't know," he admitted. I stepped closer. "Can I tell you what I want?" He nodded. "I don't want to pretend anymore," I said. "I want to know what this is." I looked at him, steady this time. "I want us to be honest." His expression softened, conflicted but real. "I'm not a kid anymore," I added. "I know what I feel." For a moment, neither of us moved. Then he reached for my hand. "I'm afraid of hurting you," he said quietly. "You won't," I replied. Another silence. Longer this time, then something shifted. The hesitation, the resistance. It gave way. He stepped closer and pulled me into an embrace. It was careful at first. It's uncertain, but it meant everything. When we finally pulled apart, the world felt different, like something had changed, and there was no going back. "We can't tell anyone," Marcus said softly, his forehead resting against mine. "Not yet. Not until we understand what this is." "Okay," I whispered. "This is complicated, I know. I should probably leave before things go any further." "But you won't," I said. It wasn't a question. He exhaled slowly. "No, I won't." He pulled me into another quiet, lingering embrace, and for a moment I let myself disappear into it, into him, into something I had wanted for so long but never believed would actually happen. We'd deal with everything else later. For now, this was enough. The next few weeks felt like we were living inside a fragile, beautiful secret. During the day, nothing had changed. Around my parents or in public, Marcus and I acted exactly like we always had, careful, distant, normal. But when we were alone, everything was different. We spoke in coded messages. "Want help with that project tomorrow?" He'd text, and I'd know what he really meant. We found quiet places to talk, hidden corners of the woods, empty parking lots, anywhere we could just exist without being seen. Most of the time, we didn't even need words. We just talked. About life. About regrets. About everything we had never said before one night. Lying under the open sky, Marcus finally opened up about his past. We were good as friends, he said quietly. But something was always missing. I ignored it for years. What changed? I asked. He stared up at the stars. I got tired of pretending. Of living a life that didn't feel like mine. You're not pretending anymore, I said. He gave a small, uncertain smile. It still feels temporary, he admitted. Like something that only exists in the shadows. I turned toward him. Maybe for now, I said softly. He pulled me closer, resting his hand gently on my shoulder. You deserve more than something hidden, he said. His words stayed with me. Because deep down, I knew he was right. As July slowly turned into August, reality started creeping in, my time at home was almost over, and so many questions still had no answers. Marcus was always careful with me. Thoughtful. Checking in, making sure I was okay. It was comforting. And frustrating at the same time. I'm not fragile, I told him one night with a faint smile. I know, he said. But you matter to me. I want to do this right. There's no right, I replied gently. Nothing about this is simple. Then let me at least try to be careful, he said. And I understood what he meant. One night, when everything felt quiet and still, I finally said the words I had been holding back, I love you. The silence that followed felt heavy. You don't have to say it back, I added quickly. I just needed you to know. Marcus let out a slow breath. It's not that I don't feel it, he said. It's just complicated. I looked at him. What happens when everyone finds out? He didn't answer right away. I don't know, he admitted. Your dad. He's been my best friend for decades. This could destroy everything. And if it does, I asked quietly, am I worth that risk? He turned to me, his expression serious. You're worth everything, he said. That's what scares me. But the truth we had been avoiding didn't stay hidden for long. Wasn't supposed to be home that night. I had only come back because I forgot my phone. The house was quiet when I walked in, too. Quiet, and then I saw them. My dad. And Marcus. Sitting at the kitchen table, and in my father's hands my journal, my heart dropped instantly. Ethan. His voice was colder than I had ever heard it. Sit down, Dad. Sit down. Marcus wouldn't even look at me. I went to your room, my dad said, his voice shaking. Your journal was open? I thought it was just a book. He let out a bitter laugh. I had no idea what I was about to read. Silence filled the room. How long? He asked. I glanced at Marcus, then answered quietly. Since early July. My father stood up, pacing. My son, and my best friend. It's not what you think, Marcus started. Don't, my father snapped. Just don't. Dad, please. You trusted him, my father said, his voice breaking. I trusted him. I'm not a kid, I said firmly. This was my choice. He's known you your whole life, my father replied. You don't see how this looks? I do, I said. But nothing happened until I was an adult. And I was the one who spoke first. My father looked shaken. You felt this for that long. I nodded. He never crossed a line before. Not once. Silence. Heavy. Suffocating. I love him, I said finally. My father froze. You. What? I love him, I repeated. And he loves me too. Marcus closed his eyes briefly. Then he stood. I do, he said quietly. I love him. My father stared at him, hurt written all over his face. I need time, he said finally. I can't process this right now. He pointed toward the door. Both of you. Leave. Dad, go, Ethan, he said, his voice heavy. Please. Before I say something we'll all regret. Marcus reached for my hand. Come on, he said quietly. Let's go. We ended up at his apartment. My whole body was still shaking, the adrenaline refusing to settle. "Well, that went great," I muttered, trying to joke, but it fell flat. Marcus pulled me into his arms. "I'm so sorry." "For what?" I asked. "For being found out. Or for us." "For putting you through that," he said. "For everything this is costing you." I leaned back to look at him. "You said you loved me." "In front of my dad." "I did." "Did you mean it?" His expression didn't change. Every word. He gently held my face. "I love you, Ethan, no matter what it costs. Even if your father never forgives me, I still love you." I didn't hesitate. "I love you too." For a moment, nothing else mattered. Just us. "What happens now?" I asked. "We give him time," Marcus said. "And we stop hiding." It wasn't perfect, but it was honest. The next few weeks were difficult. My dad didn't speak to either of us when my mom found out. She cried. I couldn't tell if it was shock, fear, or something deeper. Everything felt uncertain, but slowly, things began to change. 3 months later, I sat at the same kitchen table again. This time, Marcus was beside me, and for the first time, we weren't hiding. My dad looked tired, older somehow, but there was something softer in his expression now. "I've been thinking," he said slowly, "about everything." "About what you said?" "About choices." He paused. "I've also been talking to your mom." "A therapist." He gave a small, almost embarrassed smile. "Turns out I had a lot to work through." I squeezed Marcus's hand under the table. "I was angry," my dad continued, "because I felt like I failed. Like I should have protected you." He shook his head. "But there was nothing to protect you from. You're an adult. You made a choice." He looked at Marcus. "I've known you for a long time. I know the kind of man you are. And if Ethan had to fall for someone, I guess I should be grateful it's someone I trust." "I'll take care of him," Marcus said firmly. "I know." My dad replied. He exhaled. "I'm not completely comfortable yet, but I'm trying, and I don't want to lose either of you." My chest tightened. "You won't," I said. He opened his arms. "Come here." I hugged him tightly. "I love you," he said. "Even when I don't understand everything, I love you too." When we stepped back, he looked at Marcus. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then my dad extended his hand. "Take care of him." Well, it wasn't perfect. Things had changed forever, but something new was growing in their place that fall. I moved back not into my parents' house, but into a small apartment nearby. Marcus and I built a routine together. Simple things. Dinner at his place. Quiet walks. Lazy mornings. "I never thought I'd have this," he told me one morning. "A real life." "You do now," I said. "No," he corrected gently. "With you. This is the first time it's felt real. Not everything was easy. There were whispers, questions, moments that tested us. But we didn't let go. And slowly, people adjusted our town in its own way, made space for us. We became part of it. A year and a half later, we stood on a quiet beach. The wind was strong. The waves crashing against the shore. Marcus suddenly stopped walking. "Ethan." Something in his voice made my heart race. "I had a whole speech planned," he admitted nervously. "But now I can't remember any of it." "Right." I smiled slightly. "You don't need one." He took a breath. "I love you. More than I ever thought possible. You make my life better in every way. And I don't care how complicated our story is. I want a future with you." He pulled out a small ring. And just like that, the world went still. "Will you marry me?" My eyes filled instantly. "Yes," I whispered. "Of course, yes." He stood, and I held onto him like I never wanted to let go. We got married in the same park where everything had started to change. It was small, simple, real. My dad stood beside me. My mom cried the entire time. But when Marcus and I exchanged vows, nothing else mattered. "I never expected this," I said. "But I wouldn't change anything, because every step led me here." "To you?" Marcus smiled, his voice unsteady. "You taught me how to be honest, how to really live. And I promise, I'll spend my life making sure you never regret choosing me. At the reception, I found my dad standing alone. How does it feel? He asked. Perfect, I said. And a little scary, he smiled. That's how you know it matters. He paused. I'm proud of you, he said. For standing by what you believe in? That means everything, I said quietly. He pulled me into a hug. I love you. Kid, I love you too. Life settled into something steady after that. We bought a small house, adopted a dog, built routines that felt like home. Do you ever regret it? I asked Marcus one evening. Not living your truth sooner? He thought about it. Sometimes he admitted, but if I had done things differently, I might not have found you. He smiled softly, and I wouldn't trade this for anything. I love you, I said. I love you too, he replied. Outside. The sun was setting. The world felt calm, simple, real. And for the first time in my life, that was more than enough.